Last summer, I woke up on a Monday, regular work day, grabbed a quick shower, had some breakfast, and then I loaded what I needed for this specific job into my blue work truck. It was for a customer who was renovating an existing store in the Bronx and turning it into an optometry where you can get glasses, have your eyes checked, that kind of thing. So I headed out early. I wanted to beat traffic. Once you hit GW Bridge, there's always traffic. It doesn't matter what time of day. Took the exit to 178th Street, and I was initially gonna find parking in a lot, but it was very far from the site, and I didn't want to drag all my equipment multiple blocks. So I ended up parking on the street a couple blocks from the store. And I got to the location, and I think it was maybe a pharmacy before, I'm not exactly sure, but there were workers already there, and I introduced myself. And I asked some of them, hey, do you know where the wiring closet is? I got to do low voltage wiring. One of the guys pointed me over in the direction, so I headed over there. As I'm getting my equipment all loaded and ready, and I'm starting to look where I'm going to pull wires, the strangest sound came out of this other worker's phone. And I looked at the guy and I go, whoa, that is a hell of a realistic ringtone. Where'd you get that? And he goes, that's not a ringtone, it's gato. And I go, what the hell's gato? And he goes, cat. And I say, why are you saying it like that, man? He goes, I don't like cats. I said, whoa, okay, no problem, man. I like them, but hey, it's all good. What do you mean? You know what? Forget it. Let me just go check it out. Where's the basement? He points me in the direction. So I go find this closet with a trap door that I had to open. That was the only way in and out of that basement. And underneath this place is this ancient looking, almost colonial era passageway to something, but it didn't go anywhere. It was just this little tiny labyrinth under the store. I get to one of the edges and I hear this meow again. And I kept following her sound, and I finally found her, hiding, skinny, scared, trapped. So I go back upstairs and I ask a different guy who I hoped would be a little bit more friendly towards gato. And I said, hey, there's a cat down there and she's got no way out. There's no food. There's nothing. He goes, yeah, we hear her, but what the hell are we going to do? We're just here doing our work. I don't know how she got down there. I said, well, that's really fucked up, man. He goes, well, I what do you want from me? I just work in here. I said, okay. Do you know this area? Is there like a food store, a bodega, something like that? I gotta get her something to eat. This is insane. He goes, yeah, a couple blocks down, there's a place that sells all kinds of meat and bread and stuff like that. And I go, fine, perfect, thank you. So I head out, and sure enough, I found this little tiny place, and I go inside, and it's already packed pretty early in the morning, which surprised me. And they do sell every kind of meat. They must have had chicken, beef, goat, or lamb. I think they had ox. Now you have to understand, I'm a vegetarian, so this was very difficult for me already, but I had only one thought, and that was this poor little Tabby. She was starving, I knew that. So I asked the lady, hey, I'd like to buy some chicken, how do you sell it? And she said, you can buy half or a whole. I said, I will take half a roasted chicken. She said, okay, $5.50 or something like that. So I buy it, I look in my hand, and I'm just thinking, wow, this is crazy. So I head back to the store. I have some paper plates with me, and the guys look at me a little strange, I'm not gonna lie, but they didn't say anything. I go back into the closet, down that bizarre trap door, and I just end up literally shredding half of the roasted chicken, just peeling pieces off the bone, which I have never done. And strangely enough, I didn't even think about it at that point. I was just kind of on a mission. I was gonna do this. I was gonna make sure this cat did not go starving. So I left this plate for her, and I backed out of that weird cellar space, and I watched from the top of the stairs, and I waited quietly. I didn't move for a long time. And eventually, from the far, far distance of that bizarre underground space, I saw her peek out of her hiding space and walk out, sniff the chicken, and then instantly start devouring it. And she ate the whole thing, and I just said, okay, good job, man. Let's get some work done. So I ended up wiring, and the whole day I thought about her. I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I assumed it was a her, but I had no idea. I assumed it was. There was just something about her that seemed like girl-cat energy. I don't know what it was. And I left to go back to New Jersey at the end of that day, and I was thinking, my God, how long has she been there? How did she get there? Why is she there? Did somebody put her there? Did she get lost? And Again, with only that trap door being the only way in and out of that place, all these thoughts were going through my head, and most of them were not good, especially the way that guy reacted when I first got there and heard that, what I thought was a ringtone. So I had a lot of bad thoughts, and I could barely sleep that night, and I just kept picturing her standing there in that horrible, lonely, cold space under this building with no way out, literally no way out. Next morning, I headed back to the job site and did a few hours of work. I immediately went back to that bodega, got another half-roasted chicken, came back to the place, and the guys looked at me this time, and some of them kind of cracked up, and I said, yeah, go ahead and laugh. It's for the gato, so laugh it up. And I went back down there, and there she was again hiding, and this time she looked at me with a little bit of curiosity and maybe, a sliver of trust. And I put the other plate of chicken down and once again went back to the top of the stairs, watched her demolish the whole plate, and took off, headed back home. I started going to the store every couple of days. I started getting a reputation there as the cat man, the gato man. I ignored them. I didn't care. I was there on a mission to help this little poor girl. And I did exactly that. Now, it's an hour plus each way with no traffic. So this was becoming a major time sucker, even doing it every other day. It was affecting my work schedule, and it was certainly keeping me up at night. And I felt very uneasy for all those weeks, but I did it every 2 days for a month. So I went there a total of 15 times, every time getting her the same thing, getting laughed at, feeding her, watching her. And eventually we got to a point where she would kind of know me when I came downstairs with her food and look at me with this sort of hopeful look. And it was pretty wild because I felt like we were definitely forming a bond, and that made me feel great. But at the same time, I knew I could not possibly do this forever because it was just impractical. If she lived around the block, I could conceive of it, even though it's insane. I'm not going to go back to this store and have a cat live underneath in a cold, dark, dusty, lonely cellar for the rest of her life. But I got to the point one day where I just said, I can't do this anymore. I got to figure something else out. This is insane. I cannot go back to the Bronx every other day for the rest of my life. This is insane. And then I had the idea. Sat at my computer and searched for humane animal traps or something like that. And I got a bunch of results. And one of them looked pretty cool. I didn't know anything about them, but I figured, you know what? It's worth a try. It's better than what she's going through now. I gotta try something because I can't keep doing this, and she can't keep doing this. This is no way for an innocent little animal to live. So I ordered the trap. I think it was about $65. Got delivered next day. Thank you, Amazon. And I drove it up to the Bronx. By this time, the workers kind of ignored me. They didn't even pay attention. So I took the trap downstairs, through that horrible trap door, put it back where she knew me by now, and I put a little bit of chicken on the bottom of the trap. And then I walked away and I said, I'm going to give you 20 minutes. I think it won't take longer than that. So I went outside. It was a hot summer day, found a little stand somewhere, grabbed a drink, and just kind of killed time. And I had a feeling that she was in the cage. I don't know how, but I went back to the store, went down the stairs pretty quickly and checked it out. Sure enough, there she was. And she did not look happy. And I said, don't worry, girl. I'm going to take care of you. Don't worry. I'm the last person you have to fear. I promise you, we're getting out of here right now. So I put her in the back of my work truck and we drove back to New Jersey. I brought her inside the house, let her out of that cage, and she ran downstairs and right into the laundry room. And she ended up hiding behind a couple of pieces of cardboard and sheetrock. There was a little gap and she just found a little place there and was hiding there. She stayed like that for 24 hours, hiding behind a little pocket of space and would not come out. So I just left her there. I gave her some food and water and just let her be. Well, the next morning, she actually poked her head out of the door and started looking around. And she slowly crept out of the room and started walking around the house and smelling everything and getting her bearings. And it was crazy how comfortable she was. But I guess during that month of feeding her, she grew to trust me. And so she kind of instinctively knew that everything would be okay here. And so I gave her a nice clean bowl of food and a clean bowl of water. And she looked so good and clean and so much healthier than when I first met her. And it was amazing. It was really amazing. And She's lived with me ever since, and I had two ideas for her name. I knew I wanted it to start with B because she was from the Bronx, and the two ideas were either Boogie or Bean. And I thought about it. I was kind of 50-50 at first, but then Bean just really seemed to match her. She was so tiny and so cute, and there was something so cute about the name Bean, and that's what ended up sticking. And she's been with me ever since, and she's a great friend, and it's really nice to see that I was able to bring this beautiful little animal out of really what was hell into a normal house and a loving environment where she can spend the rest of her life. She's been great. She's actually one of the sweetest, most loving cats I've ever had. And that is the story of Bean.